Do you know what happened with the statewide initiative to ban single-use plastics in California? Well, it's coming up next on another new edition of Nexus Now. Hi, I'm Chris Mattson, and welcome to another edition of Nexus Now. In our last video newsletter, I talked about the state of California's mandate to go to zero waste by the year 2040. This was passed under the Sustainability Act for the state of California in 2018. As a result of that legislation, California state officials have put in motion Senate Bills SB 1335, SB 54, and the statewide initiative to ban all single-use plastics in California on the November ballot. Well, a lot has happened since our last video, and in today's episode, I will explain precisely what has changed. As you might recall, SB 1335 is a California law now that requires all disposable single-use plastic packaging used in food service operations on California state-owned property to be either highly recyclable, reusable, or certified compostable. SB 54 was a Senate bill that was pending prior to our last Nexus Now video, but which has now passed in the California legislature and has been signed by Governor Gavin Newsom. SB 54 requires all plastic packaging in the state to reach a 30% recycling rate by 2028 and increases to 65% by 2032. But wait, why did this strict recycling bill pass so easily? Well, it's because the plastics lobbyists came to the table and negotiated with Governor Newsom and with the California legislature to remove the statewide ban on single-use plastics that was slated for California voters to vote on in the fall. This is groundbreaking once again. The statewide initiative to ban all single-use plastics in California has been removed from the November ballot. This is huge news for the food service industry. As we all know, plastic plays a huge role in packaging food at the grocery stores, the club stores, restaurant takeout, and even at schools, universities, and hospitals. So that's a lot of information. Let's recap. SB 1335 bans the use of all single-use plastics in food service operations on California state-owned properties and requires all food packaging to be either reusable, highly recyclable, or certified compostable. SB 54 was signed into law in June of 2022 by Governor Gavin Newsom, which requires all plastic packaging in the state to reach a 30% recycling rate by 2028 and increases to 65% by the year 2032. The California state government initiative to ban all single-use plastics statewide was removed from the November ballot. I think most people would agree that a lot of waste can and should be diverted away from landfills. But for some reason, the California state, county, and city government officials think plastic is a big problem. In reality, plastic is not the problem. Here are the real problems. California seems to have a lack of recycling infrastructure around the state, as well as a lack of composting facilities, which is the real problem. In most cities around the state of California where single-use plastics have been banned, there are no green or compostable route trucks to even pick up green waste. In fact, there are no industrial composting facilities even in Southern California that accept green disposable packaging. Only 2 compost facilities accept green disposable packaging in Northern California, and both of these operations told me they typically send back most of the green disposable packaging waste because most of it does not even meet their 180-day decomposition requirements. The second problem is, did you know that the only real grade of plastic that actually gets recycled in large quantities, ground up and used again in California, is clear PET water bottle plastic? Yes, it's true. Grades 2 through 7 typically don't get recycled and instead end up in landfills. Why? Well, the state of California has never really set up true recycling infrastructure for all of these other grades of plastic. Why not? Well, that's a good question. Some will tell you that there's no demand for these other grades of plastic. I beg to differ, as several of the manufacturers Nexus represents buy post-consumer polypropylene, high and low density polyethylene, films and plastics, and they grind it up to blend it in with their virgin resin in an effort to reduce the cost to the consumer and contribute to their own sustainability efforts. Take a look at these everyday consumer products made out of 100% recycled post-consumer plastics. A park bench, a shopping basket, and even a skateboard are just a few examples of thousands of products made from post-consumer plastics. And the third problem is the state of California, many of the counties and cities around the state are also encouraging and mandating in some instances that food service operations use reusable substrates. Products like melamine, ceramic china, metal, or hard durable plastic to plate their food. However, the amount of extra cost that a food service operation has to spend on dishwashers, busing stations, reusable plates and cups is enormous. Would you want to eat and drink off of a plate or cup that somebody else just ate off of an hour ago? Were we not just in a global pandemic? Not to mention the amount of water needed to clean all of the reusable plates and cups would cost restaurants significantly more each year. Wait, more water would be needed? Isn't California in a drought? So wow, since our last video, a lot has happened. SB 1335 has been implemented and all single-use plastics are now banned in food service operations on California state-owned properties. And packaging that is used must be either reusable, highly recyclable, or certified compostable. SB 54 was passed, but only because plastic lobbyists took a stand and negotiated with California state officials to remove the statewide ban on single-use plastics from the November ballot. In short, the food service industry won this battle. The statewide initiative to ban single-use plastics has been removed from the November ballot. However, I'm not so sure about whether or not plastic will win in the end. It's going to take a lot of voices to speak up about what the state of California really needs, which in my opinion is a lot more recycling and composting infrastructure so that plastic and green compostable packaging has a home and is in use in the afterlife. The state of California also needs legislation that requires manufacturers to use a higher percentage of post-consumer recycled plastic in all products made out of plastic, which will create the demand for the recycled plastics and keep them out of landfills. Hey, if there's a will, there's a way. Instead of banning single-use plastics, let's collect them all, sort them out, and put them to use like so many manufacturers are already doing today. In the end, plastic is not the problem. The problem is a lack of understanding by our government officials who simply don't get that there is another way, a better way. Plastic is used in millions of necessary product applications every day. Plastic is good. If you agree with me, contact your local California state official and point out to them that there is another way. Thanks for joining me today on another edition of Nexus Now.